must rise, give thanks, wash, clean, cook, play, and pray before the horizontal position meets its end. You must rise, bend and exercise your mind. You stand there and supervise to find yourself out of time. Take time. Make time. It's an urgency. Listen. The communication to a segregated people in and of a segregated nation is not impossible to imagine. Okay? So what point or place am I stating? Where am I coming from and not hating? Yes, feel anger. Taste. The taste of disgust. My men and women have been whipped, shipped, hung, bunged up and bundled from their mother tongue. Where am I coming from? We must rise, mother.
Let me start by introducing myself to all of you. So my name is Patricia Wharton. I'm affectionately known by Blaze. I'm a broadcaster for both online radio and also online TV. I love talking, I love all things Black history, I love reading, I love dancing. I won't do any dancing, but I might be doing some reading a bit later. But tonight's not really about me. But I am super excited to be hosting the event. So I'm going to be your host for this evening. I've waited for such a long time. Okay, so today is about the most awesome book I have read recently. And we're going to be having some conversations with the author. We're going to invite you also to offer some questions up to the author. And in the second part, after the break, actually I need to stop, because in the break there is some fantastic food. The food is fantastic. So we're going to have a break, we're going to have some food, and then when we come back, we're going to have a few chapters read from the book, and we're also going to have some musical performance. So lots happening, but without further ado, I'm going to take my seat and I'm going to start this evening's proceedings. Okay, so let me start by saying a good evening to my guest. And your guest, of course. Our guest this evening is author Winston Hislop. Let's put our hands together for Winston Hislop. Can you still hear me, guys?
Yes.
Okay, that's because you've got a deep voice, and that's fine. You can have that. So, first of all, like I said, thank you to the museum. It's an awesome space, and thank you for hosting us. So, Winston, welcome to the museum.
Thank you. Beautiful place.
It's lovely, isn't it?
I love it, yeah. I've been here before, and I thought it's a grand place. Thanks to Monique for putting this thing together.
Yeah. Well, Monique's going to get a massive round of applause, but why don't we just say thank you to her, because she's at the back, and she's amazing. So, Winston, you're affectionately known as something else. So I'm affectionately known as Blaze. What are you affectionately known as?
Oh, General Saint.
General Saint.
Yeah.
Who knew that already? So General Saint has made a number of public appearances for something else. So we're going to start at the beginning, so people get more sense of who Winston Hislop is, because you're here as Winston Hislop, at least for this segment. So Winston, tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood. What sort of child were you?
I was actually a good child, actually.
A good child.
I grew up in Jamaica, in a small village. Call it village because it's not really a village. We call it a small town called Old Bay. It's a fishing town, you know, probably the biggest fishing town in Jamaica. And I grew up with my grandmother because my mom left for England when I was about 9 months old. She left me with my grandmother, and I grew up with my grandmother. And
what was your childhood childhood like? So your mum left you at 9 months, that's a very, very young age. But you're with your grandmother. I'm a grandmother, and I think grandmothers are amazing, so I'm sure that worked out well for you. But what was life like for you as a child? What sort of things did you like doing as a child?
As a child, I loved movies. That was my main thing about me. But I love performance. I've always been performing since I'm quite young. You know, where I come from, everyone knows me because of my performance. You know, I perform in church, I perform in school, you know, I perform as a scout. You know, I used to be in a scout band, you know, where we blow, you know, and that was a big thing at the time, doing that, you know, when you're growing up in the early 70s, late 60s, and, you know, you're the only one from your village who joined a scout band in the town of Spanish Town. You know, everybody look at you like, yeah, you know, he's going on with things. So I've always been a performer, and you know, my first school concert at primary school, I won.
When you say perform, what were you doing? What was the performance? What were you actually doing? Singing, dancing?
Yeah, we got concerts.
Okay.
Where we, you know, my first concert where I put a group together, and we were doing, you know, it's strange enough that I come to write a book like this, because my first school concert was performing a slave song.
Nice. Well, we're going to come back to your story because we don't want to have any spoilers. But I just want to so you did performance. You grew up in a big fishing village, one of the biggest in Jamaica. You grew up with your grandmother. Your mother left you at 9 months old, and you enjoyed living.
I enjoyed my life growing up. It wasn't a rich life. You know, we didn't have money, but what we had was. We had every fruit that you can eat, every single kind of fruit that you want, you know, I could eat, from sugar cane right now. So my outdoor life was fantastic, you know, swimming, catching fish, doing everything that a young boy today in the UK would never do.
Sure.
So my life was very, very, very entertaining within itself. And we entertain ourselves. At nights we would sit down and listen to the older people telling stories, telling Anansi stories, telling Duppy stories, telling all different kinds of stories.
Do you want to explain for people who might not know what a Duppy story is?
Well, ghost stories.
Ghost stories.
Yeah, stories about ghosts and things like that, you know. In the darkest of night, you're hearing this kind of people telling you, you know, they want you to get scared. So,
but you spoke about entertaining and being a performer. You had a particular skill though. You would go to the movies, and what would you do after you've been to the movies?
Well, after the movies, the next day, you know, I used to live in what you call a tenement yard. So you got probably 10 different families living in the same environment. And we all grew up almost like families. And in the morning, after movie, I have to tell everyone how this movie goes. And not just tell you how the movie goes, you gotta literally repeat the movie from moves to moves, you know, how the cowboy pull his gun, how, you know, how he walks, how he talks. So you got to do everything, and everybody just sit there listening to you. So it's almost like they've seen the movie when you finish. So I used to do that, but on the other hand, I used to get some serious licks for doing that, because I never used to come home from school. So
after school, you'd go and reenact the entire movie, and then you'd be punished when you got home.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, after movies, I'll come home and I'll come home late, and I'm going to get a beating, and I know I'm going to get a beating. But I love movies, and you know, when the new Django come out or the new Clint Eastwood movie come out, I'm going to see it.
We're going to be talking some more about Clint Eastwood, aren't we, though? So let's fast forward now. So you've been capturing audiences from a very young age.
Yes.
You said your mum left when you were 9 months old. Did she come to the UK?
She comes to
She
the
came to the UK.
Yeah.
You also came to the UK as a young person. How old were you when you came to the UK?
17.
17.
Yeah.
And what was it that made you decide to come?
My grandmother thought it was time. She couldn't manage anymore. She thought that she probably was on her way out, and she wanted me to have a different life. She's always wanted me to have a different life because my grandmother couldn't read. But it's one thing that she did. She made sure that I got an education. And, you know, growing up, she used to wash clothes, people's clothes, just to get money that I could go to school. So, and there was a lot of times in Jamaica you could literally not go into school and nobody gives a hoot. Nobody cares, you know, the teacher doesn't care. The teacher ain't gonna come to your house and say, oh, he wasn't in school today or anything like that. If you're not in school, you're just not in school. But I love school. I wanted an education. If it's even a basic education, I wanted that. And if I didn't go to school, my grandmother wouldn't know. But I'm glad I did, because when my mother and my aunt and my uncle wrote a letter from abroad, she didn't have to go to the neighbor to read that letter. She had me to read it. So that kept her business private. So I'm glad I did go to school, and I'm glad I did, you know, the money that she worked and earned for me to get an education. I took advantage of that.
That is fantastic. I love that story. It is, of course, October, and in the UK we celebrate Black History Month. And one of the things we do, which is part of the thing that we're doing today, is we celebrate heroes. But we often look for heroes in celebrities, on television, someone that's done something magnificent for the entire world. And what we don't remember to do is celebrate the heroes like your grandmother.
Yes.
And so I want everybody to salute his grandmother and give a round of applause. Is one of our heroes that we're celebrating.
Yes, and she lived until she was about 102.
Wow, fantastic. So, you know, we're grateful for your grandmother, you got an education. She felt that it was time for you to move on and have a better life. So you arrived here in the UK. What had you heard about the UK before arriving here? What were you expecting when you got here?
Well, truthfully, I wasn't too interested in coming to the UK. I remember getting my visa, and at that time, you know, when your parents is, you know, filing for you, you get a permanent visa from Jamaica. You don't get a 6 months visa. You know, in that time, 1977, you know, they filed for me permanently. So I remember getting my visa in August of 76. And I didn't leave Jamaica until March.
The following year?
77. Because I was, and even when time for me to leave, you know, my ticket was booked and time for me to leave, I still missed my plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you miss it because you really hadn't made your mind up that you wanted to come to the UK?
Partly because I wasn't really in an hurry to come. And so the eagerness wasn't there to be at the airport 2 hours before, 3 hours before the plane. And I remember when I got to the UK, it was it was a winter's day, it was really cold. And there was nobody at the airport to meet me.
Is that because you missed your plane, so they thought you were coming the day before? Okay.
My mom thought, I ain't coming at all. I just missed my plane, and they just went back to their business.
So what did you do then?
And this is the good part of it, because when you get an education, then you know exactly what to do. And I went and spoke to someone in information, and I explained to them my situation, and they said, okay, we're going to put you on a coach, and you can go to Victoria. So I end up in Victoria Police Station because
Wow! Now that's an introduction to the UK.
Yeah, you
so
know
you
what I'm
end up
saying?
in the police station, your mum thinks you're not coming now because you weren't really interested. You've already taken from August to March to accept that you're actually coming to the UK. You miss your plane, you end up in the Victoria Police Station.
But I had her number.
Okay.
I had her telephone number. Now, when they were calling from the airport, my mum was at work. My two brothers and my sister were at school because I arrived, you know, probably about 1, some way. And so there was nobody at home to answer the phone. So going to Victoria, I had to sit and wait. And they called until someone came home.
Okay.
And I think one of my brother came home and he answered the phone and they discovered now that I'm here and someone came and picked me up at Victoria Police Station.
Cool, so you're no longer at the station. Let's fast forward now. So you're about 17, did you say? So in the UK, most people finish school by then. So what did you go on to do when you got here?
First, I did college. I did 2 years at Hammersmith and West London College. And but during my years at college, I had a friend who used to come to college with a guitar. But it was electric guitar, so you're not hearing anything. You ain't got no speakers, you ain't got no amplifier, but he's playing. And I started to sing along with him, started to, and then I started to find myself singing and doing all of that.
Is that when you first became really interested in music?
In music, yeah. That's when I started really, at like 17, 18, I really started to find myself. I grew up in Jamaica listening to all different kind of music because back then in Jamaica, it's not just reggae you're hearing. You're hearing music from the UK, from, America, all the R&Bs, Before I come here, I knew about the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. I knew about all these people.
Were you hearing Jim Reeves? That's a very...
Oh, Jim Reeves, oh jeez, every Sunday, you have to hear Jim Reeves, I used to love Western music, country Western music, Martin Robin, even Dolly Parton, all these people. I knew about these people as a kid growing up in the far western side of Jamaica, because that's what the radio used to give us.
Sure.
And so my love for music was always there. I never knew that I would get into music, doing music physically. What happened is my career, I was in college, started to bang around. And then I left college and I knew I didn't want to work. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to work for someone, or you just didn't want to work?
I know I didn't want to do a 9 to 5. I know I was almost like you knew you cut out for something else.
Sure.
Not being lazy or anything like that, because I had a few jobs. But I knew that there was something else that I wanted to do.
Did you know what that something was?
I know I had to entertain. My mom wanted me to be a preacher.
Okay. That could be entertaining for some.
Yeah, she wanted that for me. But
Thank you.
thank you. But that's not what I wanted to. I knew that there was something else, and because I was doing this thing at college, I started to get into the music. So we formed a band.
But sorry, it's quite interesting. Your mum wanted you to be a preacher, and your name is actually General Saint, so you kind of
I didn't read that.
going on. Yeah. Had you noticed that before now?
And she cursed me when she knew that I wanted to be, do regular music. She was telling me, you ain't getting nowhere in this music. You need to find a job, and you need to. And she used to put that onto me, and she used to give me hell, literally. And I knew if I'm going to pursue a musical career, I have to leave home. I cannot stay at home. And that's within 2 years of me being here.
So that's quite a big decision because, you know, you didn't grow up with your mother. You've come to the UK now and she's got some ideas about what she wants you to do. You're kind of going against the grain. You've been with her for 2 years.
Yes,
you don't want to do
I started to rebel
Mm.
against what she wanted me to do. But I had a girlfriend and she lived in Grenfell Tower. And this is where my Grenfell Tower story starts.
Sure.
And her mom decided that she's going to migrate to America. And then her mom said to me, if you want to have the flat, you can have it. Whoa!
Wow.
The heavens opened for me.
And you moved into Grenfell Tower.
And I moved into Grenfell Tower. And so now I'm in Grenfell Tower, I can do whatever I want to do.
Sure.
And then I started hanging around in Eastwood.
Because I was going to say, you mentioned Clint Eastwood, a different Clint Eastwood's probably
Musical
the
one.
one that we knew. This is a different
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood. And you became a duo. You became Clint Eastwood.
Right.
And General Saint. Tell us about that.
Well, funny enough, it started at me following Eastwood around his, you know, because he was an artist before me, big artist. As a matter of fact, he was my idol. And I decided, you know, following him around because I've got Grenfell Tower, I started to do what Eastwood done. Because I started to sing. But then I started to love the DJ thing, and then I started to DJ. I spent about 2 years around sound system,
Sure.
just DJing sound system and getting.
So when you're saying DJ, just to be specific for those people that are not aware of that era, it's not DJing as in playing music.
No.
Tell us a bit
It's
more about
basically, you know, back then they called it toasting.
Toasting.
Now, if you, okay, let me give you one example and you will all understand. What Sean Paul and Shaggy does. That's what we call DJ.
I thought he was going to do some toasting there.
That's basically what we call DJ. So I started to do that, and I spent 2 years, you know, like going to what we call the shebeen and DJing, and you know, just night and day, 7 nights a week. Yeah, I don't have one month to answer to. I can, you know, pushing my own keys,
Sure.
so I can do what I want to do and getting my apprenticeship within the DJ business. And it happened very quickly because I started to accommodate artists from Jamaica and producers. So I remember one night, Issa came to me and said to me, this is before me and Issa starts, Issa came to me and said, Saint, I've got, not even Saint, Winston, wasn't named Saint here, and he said to me, I've got a producer come from Jamaica and he wants somewhere to stay. And it happened that this producer was Henry John Rose, one of Jamaica top producer. And I said, yeah man, pull him out, why not?
In Grenfell Tower.
In Grenfell Tower. And Jojo came, and then Jojo was producing Barrington Levy.
Sure.
Then Barrington Levy came, and then Barrington Levy said to me one day, oh Saint, we're gonna do a tune together, you know. Cool. And I did the track with him called Woman Sunny Day. But I only had about 8 bars on the track. But everybody was talking about me, like I did it like it was me. And I'm saying, there's something about this, you know, you can feel it in your air that you were meant to do this.
With just 8 bars.
With just 8 bars. And then I used to listen to a lot of Jamaican tape, music, sound system tape coming from Jamaica. And there was a DJ that we all loved, General Echo. Reciprocal sound. John knows about it.
Still funny.
Yes, still funny, sorry. Still funny. John, yeah, brother. Anyway, I used to love Echo, and then Echo died tragically by gunshot. And I decided to do a tribute to him. And we went to the studio. East was in the studio as well. And I said to him, let's do this thing together. And he said, nah, I don't want to do that. But I did it, and I took the record to Greensleeve, and Greensleeve loved it.
Yeah.
The only difference is it wasn't a whole rhythm track, nothing new. And Greensleeve said to me, you can have a brand new rhythm track. So I picked the track, and I said to Greensleeve, you know, man, Isu can do this, it's really good. And Greensleeve said, okay. let's give it a go. Number one.
Fantastic. Let's give a round of applause for that. I do want everybody to know, how did you get the name General Saint?
Oh,
tell us that story.
I got the name General Saint, my friend, Brendel Hart, again. My friend was sitting, he was in the sitting room on the phone talking to someone in Jamaica. And the person was watching The Saint, Roger Moore. And he asked the person what they're watching, and he said, "Oh, I'm watching a program called The Saint." And
Is it Simon Temple? Is it Simon Temple?
Yeah. And straight away then he come into the bedroom and he said to me, "I got a name for you, you know. This is name Saint." I said, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then I said, "Let's put something on it, because, you know, at that time within the music business, you have to have something to go with it. You know, you don't just name one name. You have to have either a general or a colonel or lieutenant or something. something to go with it, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, put general on it and Saint," and that name just. And the beautiful thing about that name is, nobody has ever uses that name or anything like that in anything whatsoever. And I don't have to change it. Because even Eastwood, sometimes I don't know, Eastwood is fed up with his name because there's somebody else. Because of the Eastwood Lone Ranger. You know, all these guys that have these cowboys and these gangster name is coming from somewhere else. But General Saint was the magic.
I love that. That's fantastic. So we are going to go on to talk about your book, but before we do that, just tell us quickly about some of the great achievements of the duo General Saint and Clint Eastwood.
Oh wow! I mean, we have, you know, we have opened doors. We've opened a lot of doors for our genre of music. You know, if we're talking about from late 1979, 1980, when we had our first #1 record, and then the second record.
Where was it #1, in the UK, in Jamaica?
Oh, in the UK. And this was a place to have your #1. And then our second record was #1 for 14 weeks.
Wow.
Which was another one like us. Massive record. And then we started to break down a lot of barriers as DJs, because BBC started to take an interest in what we're doing. Especially John Peel started to take, you know, so much interest in what we're doing. So we started sessions, you know, all lot of things. Where, I mean, there's no music program at that time that we didn't do.
And I think it's fair to say that I would really describe you as trailblazers, torchbearers, because as I remember, I don't know for those of you, no one has to say their age, but the 60s, 70s babies, when we were watching Top of the Pops and when we were watching UK TV, there wasn't very much, if any at all, black representation in terms of music. So the fact that you and Clint Eastwood were doing that, it's Black History Month, and I think that deserves a round of applause. It's important to say, because of you, then I can. Because of you, other people that are doing broadcasting or singing or on UK, so we can, because you did. So
we were the first to be doing, as DJs, to be doing daytime TV, children programs in Saturday morning, and you know, things like The Big Breakfast. You know, we were breaking down barriers, and then we move on to Europe, and I remember sitting in a studio in Eindhoven, in Holland, and my record was #2, and sitting next to me was Annie Lennox, you know, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the Thompson Twins, you know, all these people were sitting there, and their record was behind my record, and that, at the time, it didn't feel like anything. didn't seriously didn't feel like anything special.
Retrospectively, when you think about it now, you know, there's been lots of, you know, uprisings and things. What does it feel like now when you think back about that story, that journey?
I thought it was, now I thought that was amazing. I thought it was amazing when Andy then has to say, God, I love your song. You guys should come to my studio in Maid of Ale. It wasn't interest to us to go to. And then the next studio, we didn't go. I mean, we were getting invitation from Darla hosts for the concerts in Hammersmith and Odeon, and then, you know, we can't make it to your concert because we've got a concert. Oh, okay, you can make it to a party in the Royal Gardens Hotel. No, we can't, because we've got People's Club to go to.
Well, it's such a beast.
You know what I'm saying? So, those things weren't too for us. It wasn't, you know, I've graced the stage with some great artists, you know, the Ian Juries, the big countries, oh gosh, I can't even.
It sounds awesome, and what I love about it is how you were just so humble and I guess basically quite innocent and not realising that you were amongst some top stars. And you were ahead of them at some point.
Yes, at some point, you know, my record, you know, I remember once I'm driving to Scotland and we were in the van and we were listening to Radio 1, and I remember listening to David Jensen and he said, oh, we're going to play hottest record in the land now. And straight away, I think he said hottest reggae record in the land. And Buffalo Soldier was out at the time.
Yeah.
And then I hear dum 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 dum. Stop that train, and you know the vibe went wild because wow, we thought, I mean, this is Radio 1 daytime. Stop the Train album was #1 in the indie charts. Now, 1984, the indie charts belong to independent artists. Indie artists, never belonged to reggae artists. And we were #1 in the indie charts. We were gracing the front cover of some of the most elite magazines in the country. And that was beautiful, but our audience started to change because we started the 2 Bad DJ album, which was another vibe that does talk about Ron, 2 Bad DJ, you know, all the hard.
So your listeners then changed?
Our listeners started to change, you know, and we started to appeal more to a white audience. And we knew we had to change our musical content, so that's where Stop That Train comes. We went in and we decided, okay, we're not going to use rhythm tracks on Jamaica anymore.
Sure.
We're going to make our own rhythm tracks. And so for Stop That Train album, we did that album completely, right? And that album is probably top 3 in Greensleeve, which is one of the biggest independent company ever in the UK. Still
it's clear that you are a very versatile individual, and I guess in Jamaica they'll say you can turn your hand to anything, you can kind of do anything, and it shows. So you've given us this great story and this fantastic background. I could listen to it for longer, but we're here to talk about the book.
I'm giving you some
synopsis. You go from DJing and the shubbies and, you know, kind of doing what you're doing to writing a book, to becoming an author.
Well, it starts with my recording again. It starts with my music. I record an album called True Survivor, which is the album that's out there now. It's my latest album.
Sure.
And when I recorded the album, there was a track on that album called Soldier. And I wanted to do a video for Soldier, and my producer, who's an animator, his name is Robbie Tyndale, he said to me, let me do an animation video of that. I've never done an animation video before. You know, mostly you see most of my videos are just videos. And I said, okay, do that. When he did the video, everyone started to say to me, that looks like a game. That's the same. That video looked like a game. And I said, okay. Then the penny drops. Probably it's time for me to start to transform myself into something else. You know, I'm not going to spend all my life jumping up and down on stage. I've done that most of my life, so I needed to do something else. So I started to create a game from my song.
Wow.
And then I started to write. As I've said to you previously, this is not my first book.
So it's when you started to write, had you intended that it would be a novel, or was it that you...
No. It was meant to be almost like a screenplay.
Okay.
It was something for the game. It's a story for the game. But then it turned out to be this big story that I'd written. And I wanted to embody that story, reality and fiction. Nanny was the reality of that story.
Why Nanny? Because there are so many other heroes, I guess we could say, Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
So tell me about Nanny. Why Nanny specifically?
Ancestors always seems to tell you what to do. Ancestors come to you probably in your dreams, probably in your subconscious, and they tell you what to do. The question, Nanny, what you just asked me, I could not give you a answer that I'm going to say, oh wait, this is true. No. Nanny, I wanted for the SKR story, Soldier Kingdom My story, I wanted a truth, and Nanny was my truth. Nanny discovered in that story, and then the ancestors says to me, that's not your end. You need to tell Nanny's story. So, how I vision it is by doing the SKR story and including Nanny, it was the ancestors know what they were doing, and they knew that they were going to take me to the Rebirth. They knew they were going to do that.
Can I ask you something? So when you were DJing or toasting, whichever terminology, were you writing, or was it just something that came from your head and it just
No, I write songs.
Okay.
3 minutes on an A4 paper. Sometimes one piece of A4 paper works. They ain't going no further, you know. 2, 3 verses, and you know, you write one chorus which you repeat. So I've never ever written a book, or if you had come to me 3 years ago and said, you know, you're going to write a book, we'd probably have an argument, because I'll think that you're disrespecting me. You know, people. But it was never ever occurred to me that I would sit one day. COVID came along, and I was a smoker, big smoker, smoked for 40 years. And last year, March, when COVID started, I said, if I'm going to ever stop smoking, this is the time. Because this is the time of pressure, this is the time of stress. If you're going to try and stop smoking, now is the time you're going to do it.
Wow.
And I took the challenge on. And so that.
And how are you doing?
1 year, 8 months.
So when people have an addiction, a habit, and they give it up, they replace it with something. Some people it's chocolate, something it's all other things. So had you replaced your smoking with, say, dedicate your time to writing? How did the two coincide?
Writing, well, I think.
To writing the books.
What I replace it with, I'm not too happy about it, put on a few pounds. Yeah, and I think everyone tell me that would happen, stop smoking, you're going to put on a few pounds. And because of the COVID, there was no gym, couldn't go to the gym, so a couple of pounds gone on there, but I'll get rid of it. But what it did, it tells me to do something else. Right. And I 3 to 4 months.
Wow. Actually, quite interestingly, I think now, especially in 2020, 2021, I think most people that are going to write a book would use a PC, a laptop. Tell us how you did yours.
As I said, the ancestors again, they are very old school. So they wanted me to do this old school. So they gave me a bunch of pencils and a bunch of paper, and they say, write. And I write into these fingers. I'm left-handed, so these fingers were blistered.
So, a really interesting thing happened this week. You took your book to an interesting place. I don't know anyone else who was taking their book there. Why don't you tell everybody where that was?
Oh yeah, I was, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was invited to the House of Lords to, give a speech and present, my book to a lot of interesting people. It was a celebration of a woman organization. And it's an organization around the world that empowers women.
The question I want to ask you, although it's a book that you've written, what does that feel like when you're listening to the story that you've written?
Oh gosh, I can't find words to describe that. That was amazing. See that? Oh, that was... I can't... You guys, no matter, you guys let me pinch myself. I keep doing that. I keep pinching myself, saying, wake up. This is a dream. You're still in a dream. Because, you guys deliver my words so beautifully, including you, my dear. Monique, thank you. Thank you for this. Last week, Thursday, I was in front of close to 300 people. Seriously, this feels better. Seriously, it does, because I can feel the emotion running through this room at this moment, and it's just fantastic. I can't find words to say. I thank you, each and every one of you, for coming and supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to start crying, and I'm quite ugly. I've got to get back on stage and compose because I'm hosting, right? So if I bust out crying when everything's finished, it's because I've got it held and right here. But thank you for that, and I'm sure, for Sheila, who I almost call Shariba, and Nomad, that it was an honour for
Yeah, man, it's such an honour to have you guys to come and read these words from my book.
Okay, we're going to have a break now. So let's give it up again for
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I was also at the event that State spoke about last week in Nanny in Brixton. I actually felt like I was in Jamaica. It was a completely different atmosphere. It was not Cambridge. So thank you. But we're going to bring a little bit of Hootenanny. Well, I wasn't saying I was going to bring a little bit of Hootenanny to Cambridge.
We must rise, give thanks, wash, clean, cook, play and pray before the horizontal position meets its end. We must rise, bend and exercise your mind. You stand there and supervise to find yourself out of time. Take time. Make time. It's an urgency. Listen. The communication to a segregated people in and of a segregated nation is not impossible to imagine. Okay? So what point or place am I stating? Where am I coming from and not hating? Yes, I feel anger. Taste. The taste of disgust. My men and women have been whipped, shipped, hung, bunged up and bundled from their mother tongue. Where am I coming from? We must rise, mother. Mothers of brothers, sisters and others. Take up a cause. Over there is good. Let's absorb this time. Not disintegrate, stagnate, excommunicate, deviate, hesitate, procrastinate, won't hate, hesitate. Let us facilitate. Get a cape and fly away. Be that superhero, heroine inside your mind. I step forward. Others may rally behind, beside, and before me. They saw the signs. We must rise. Value your commodity. We have surpassed the expiration date, enabled others to extricate, exterminate, and evaluate the worth of birth. We must rise.
I love you, mama, 'cause mama, you're the greatest. Remember those times before sunrise, close the body and I'm on the body. I said, you don't know you can't take a little one over from now, tell me what's from my woman. I remember those times when you take me, I'm going to be a father, I mean, mama, we want to hear the name. Mama, no, I can remember. Mama said, so we drink this, so we sick. Mama, I just want to hold me ready. She go to the soup, but then she feed me. She broke on me, but then she broke me belly. Mama, you're the greatest. Truly, I'll tell you that she is stressed. Mama, you're the greatest. When you know she's so stressed, I'm in a fit for myself. Mama, you're the greatest. Love towards the child, show you every time when you smile. Mama, you're the greatest. I love you, mama. 'Cause mama, you're the greatest. I remember those times you never said it for me. I know we did that cry. Mama knows me, I saw me that just made me out of that. I never tell no grandma. Leave me your phone inside. I'll be a chappy ice and feelings are pretty skies. I take it from me and the womb is so bad. True, you to be tell me first word for the greatest. Truly, I'll tell you that she is stressed. Mama, you're the greatest. When you know she's so stressed, I'll be a fit for myself. Mama, you're the greatest. Love towards the child, you do every time when you smile. Mama, you're the greatest. I love you, mama. 'Cause mama, you're the greatest. I remember those times when I was on the father, never let go. Mama, what I want to step out, different thing, you know, let go. Nina, mama, Nina, Dios. Remember I saw you at the same going from. Remember when you also hit me about the one. When I don't make you lose your religion. Take your eyes, body blood. Mommy, you teach me to balance as a people. You teach me, I got blessed, no one to step up. Remember me, I come from. I bring the lost and very roots in Porta. Mama, you're the greatest. Tell me how time to be damaged, she be stressed. Mama, you're the greatest. When you know she's so stressed, I'll be on it, tell me so. Mama, you're the greatest. Love towards the child, show you every time you smile. Mama, you're the greatest. I love you, mama. 'Cause mama, you're the greatest. Love my mother. This song is dedicated to all the mothers across the world. All the greatest. Sing it out, man. Greatest. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
I am a man with no inspiration. That's why me going on the right direction. I am an artist, a word from creation. And it's a rocky road. And we are carrying the load. It's a heavy load. We are the true survivors. But it's a rocky road. And we are carrying the load. It's a heavy load. We are the true survivors. Here is, you got this city, you know me have the potential. You put me in a box and take me see a criminal. And you know one city, I'm no education. rocky, but me know me have the fire. Kiss and turn, but me know me have the fire. Guys, a rocky road. And we are carry the load. It's a heavy load. We are the two survivors. Life is a rocky road. And we are carry the load. It's a heavy load. We are the two survivors. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Shida of Holder Poetry, and this evening I have been reading from this lovely book. I read one of the chapters, A Maroon Warrior, and I feel blessed and humbled to have been a part of this evening's occasion. To felt the vibration, just the, oh wow, words leave me, but I tell you what did come to me, tears, as I listened to chapters 2 and 3. I can only encourage you to get a copy of this book, which is on Amazon. It's coming out very soon, and it should be in all good bookshops. And more importantly, it is the wish of the author, which is Winston Hislop, to have it in all good schools. So I want to say thank you very much for being a part of this. My name is Shida, and thank you very, very much. I'm honoured and humbled, and
you need different scenes, innit?
So when you're ready?
Yep, ready.
Okay, so guys, it's your girl Blaze from the Let's Talk show at the Chalk Hill Community Radio Station. The Chalk Hill Community Radio Station is all about keeping the community connected. Well, guess what? I've come all the way down to Cambridge. I've had a fabulous day today. It has been the launch of this awesome book, Rebirth, A Maroon Warrior by Winston Hislop, also known as General Saint. The interview was awesome. We've had some great readers of different chapters of the book. Absolutely blew the minds of those that were listening. Some fantastic poetry as well. We had, and that was great. Food was fantastic. We've had a few performers singing as well. Listen, I love the book, guys. Get the book. It's coming out on Amazon November 22nd. It's your girl Blaze, and I'm out.
Cool.
Yeah, welcome here at Cambridge Museum, where we're having the book launch of the Rebirth, A Maroon Warrior. This is an amazing book, and to be honest with you, my mum brought me up with Nanny. Nanny's her favourite, warrior from Jamaica, so I grew up with my mum saying Nanny, and it's so nice to actually finally see a book, a story, that I can share with my kids, the other generation, my younger cousin, my brother, because this is not something that you see all the time, that is advertised as much. It's not new and upcoming, it's more like local history books, but thank you so much for having me. I got to perform here tonight as well, so, look out for me, Gandhi the Great, but big up to this man, Rebirth, a Maroon Warrior, you know what I mean? So, yeah, big up.
Respect. Quick one.
Respect. Yeah, man.
It's a quick minute. Just support the thing. Say how you feel, man.
Well, yo, listen. Nanny comes to Cambridge. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful moment in my life, and so much beautiful people to support it. I am so overwhelmed by the support so far, from London to Cambridge, to London again, and hopefully back to Cambridge sometime soon. So, we're taking this thing right across the country. They have to know about Nanny. Respect, and, it's our time now. Power, and power to the women, this is women power. This is, Nanny's going to show them what it's like to be a...
Is it about a month, do you think? About 2 months. And I cannot tell you the amount of respect I have for this young lady. I think you're younger than me. Maybe it's because she's not as tall as me. But she has really tirelessly crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, Calls every other minute, text and message. She's on the road, she's in Tesco's putting up flyers, she's tying up the banner on the path outside. I came and spent the day with her. And she's like, do you remember back in the day, you have those people that walk around with the money or things on their clothes? Do you remember those people that be like town, it wasn't a mayor?
No, right.
Oh, what were they called? Like, anyway, I went into the town with Monique and everybody knows Monique. And I can see why. I mean, if I was her children, I would not be going shopping with her because I know it would be a long thing. Hi. You go into the pub, they know her. You go into the hairdresser, she gets a free ticket to park at the back. Everyone else has to pay or we can't. She's awesome. Tesco's. She's just been such a beautiful soul. And I need to tell you, she's gone in with two N's. I-N-N. And I want you guys to stand over this time. And I want you to celebrate this awesome young lady because she has really been instrumental in making today possible.
And you know, sometimes in life, you see people do things. Some do it for the money, some do it for, you know, the joy. Monique believed in this. She believed in this book. She believed in the journey. She believed in what we are doing. And I know that's why she's doing this. Girl, enough love to you. Respect.
Yeah, I adore her. And the other amazing things that happened, did any of you have the dumplings? Because her mum made the dumplings.